Hi, John Kavakis here again. This is my take on Esval's Duesenberg Town Car, chassis number 2405, made for Bauer. So I want to talk to you about this model. I want to talk to you a little bit about Duesenberg. We're going to be using our 5-star rating to rate the model. Let's talk about Duesenberg first. So Duesenberg was a high-end American manufacturer of luxury automobiles. Didn't weather the Depression very well, but they became famous for making ultra luxurious, very fast cars. The high end of their line came in the 30s when they made the Model SJ. It came with a 420 cubic inch inline 8-cylinder engine. It was capable of producing 325 horsepower, which was approximately 3 times as much horsepower as their nearest competitor at the time, which happened to be Pierce Arrow. And so the company struggled through the Depression, ultimately had to fold in 1937. But not before a German painter by the name of Rudolf Bauer had contracted with Duesenberg to make a car of his own design. Now, it took some time for that car to come together, so it ultimately ended up being the last Duesenberg made. Bauer had some problems. He was a Jewish sympathizer in Germany, actually spent a year in prison. Some people say his sister turned him in, but he got out of prison before the end of the war. He emigrated to the United States actually before the war began, and picked up on his project with Duesenberg again. There was a well-known company named Ralston who had made the Duesenberg 20 grand. You've probably heard of that. And Bauer wanted Ralston to make his car. It was a car of his own design, but Ralston forded as well during the Depression, and they reformed again, though, in 1938, 1939, calling themselves Ralston. And Bauer picked up the project with them, and Duesenberg himself and some former factory workers, some craftsmen, worked on the car to put it back together to make one last Duesenberg. It was finally delivered in 1940. So sometimes you hear this car is a 1939, sometimes you hear it's 38, 37, 40. It actually is a chassis number 2405, which was made in 1937 and then sold to Bauer so they could do the custom body work on it. So it's a legendary car. The engine was so powerful. It was available, that the chassis was available with a 4-speed transmission, but they had to drop back to a 3-speed transmission to handle all the torque. And Bauer came up with a unique design for a Duesenberg when all the rage was in long flowing fenders and the French curves and that sort of thing, and huge running boards. He came up with a relatively clean design that essentially had bicycle fenders on it, no running boards at all. The spare tires were in the back, not on the sides. Very long hood. This happens to be not just the last Duesenberg, but the longest Duesenberg ever made. So it had that huge engine up front, that straight 8, side exhaust pipes. There were multiple louvers on the top of the engine. For some reason or another, if you were to open up that engine, you would see that there were aluminum covers underneath them. Nobody's quite sure why they were installed, other than maybe to keep the water off the engine. Esval has made this in 1/43 and 1/18. It comes in 4 different versions. You have the closed version. This is a town car, so it was made to coddle the passengers in the back, and the chauffeur would drive up front. So there was a closed version, a semi-open version where the area over the driver and the dashboard were open, a top-down version where you could see the entire interior, and then a top-down version with the window-up version. This is the enclosed version, and it shows us some of the really unique things that Bauer did. Bauer was a very successful artist, became known early in his career for doing paintings of the cabaret scene in Germany. A little bit of a scandalous reputation because of that. But he had exquisite taste, if not maybe a little esoteric. So the convertible top is made out of silk. The interior was lined with purple leather, which sounds a little bit odd, but if you ever had a chance to see the interior of the car, it really is quite beautiful. So the larger parts of the car are, there are parts of the car that are large and purposefully exaggerated to make the car appear to be smaller. This car is gigantic. Okay, so we've got it on a turntable here, and just the first impression is it's another home run. What Esval does so well, they seem to have poured it all into this miniature. Now, I've seen the 1/18th model, and it's spectacular as well, but I'm always impressed by miniaturization and what can be done in high detail and even smaller package, and Esval has just nailed it here. The finish is deep, it's glossy, it's perfect. The chrome is brilliant and lustrous. The lensing on the headlights and the fog lights and all of the lights up front, it must have been 1,000,000 watts coming from the front of this car, is just deep and beautiful. And the same thing with the lensing in the tail lights as well. They have handled the side exhaust exceptionally well. The side vents of the engine are very delicate, photo etch, but well handled, and there's just the bare hint of the engine inside the vents there, so that you get an accurate representation of what this would have looked like. The Landau bars on the back are to scale and beautifully crafted. The trim around the back of the engine, very delicate. The back of the roof, very delicate. Very well done. Glazing on the windows is beautiful. The color of the interior, they've captured really well. And it's hard to see, but if you shine a light inside the window, you can see the instrument panel, which is extremely well picked out. The windshield wipers, very delicate, very small. But well placed, and that horn on the driver's side, which on any other car would look ungainly and huge, but on this huge behemoth of a car is just well sized and well placed. The wire wheels they're just little works of art, very intricate. The tires are the right size, the white walls are the right size. It's just an absolutely beautiful car. What's really hard to see unless you look at it closely, maybe even under magnification, is the bracket work for the spare tires in the back. It's very delicate, very intricate, sitting there right next to the exhaust pipe, but it's incredible 1/43rd work. So it's a beautiful car. It's a beautiful model. It's an iconic car. What is the rating on this going to be? And, I promised you I'd be conservative on this, but I got to be honest as well. So as our 5-star rating is concerned, fidelity, 5 stars. It's just beautifully done. Trim, lensing, and badging is a cut above nearly everything else out there. I'm giving it 5 stars too. Color, 5 stars. Deep, glossy black, highly reflective. I love that. Interior detail, a little hard to pick out because it's a closed car, but the windows, you can see through the windows. I'm giving the interior detail 5 stars, in particular because of how well the dash is done. Wheels and tires, little works of art themselves, jewels, 5 stars. Value at $104, maybe a little bit less on eBay every now and then. There are not a lot of these out there, but if it is not in your collection, it's time to get it. I'm giving it 5 stars as far as value is concerned as well. So it's 5 stars all around. And my take's overall rating on this one is 5 stars. It's a great model. If you don't have it in your collection, you should consider getting it. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you spending your time with me. I look forward to talking again sometime real soon.